I've got the pleasure today of welcoming you, so thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate everybody coming down. This is always a good opportunity to kind of come together and celebrate Black History Month and all the other months, because, you know, every month we get to celebrate something. But, you know, it's really important, I think, for us as we look at where we are as a city. You know, right now we're looking at where we are, not just as a city, but as a metropolitan area. And one of the things that we're recognizing is a vast set of disparity that touches St. Paul, that touches the Twin Cities metro area. It's touching the country, but we always have to remember that it's actually touching us more so than it is touching everybody else. You know, that we in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, do you know that we have the largest achievement gap in the country, of major metropolitan areas in the entire country? Do you know that we also have the largest unemployment gap between African Americans and white people in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities metropolitan area? We have a larger gap than any other major metropolitan area in the country. We have larger gaps. I mean, we have one of the, we lead the nation, we're among leaders of the nation, I should say, in adult and juvenile criminal justice systems, in the uninsured and underinsured, in a whole range of categories. A lot of people would say, well, you know, it's not that bad in Minnesota, and the reason is because white people do so much better, but I think that's what makes it worse, because it proves that we have better, we can do better here. Folks, you know, there's an old saying that says, if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it, you know. And so, you know, a lot of times, you know, when I was in high school, I got bored a lot of times in history class. And the reason is because I didn't realize, I thought we were learning it for then. I realize now that we needed to know it for tomorrow, you know. And so I appreciate the opportunity to celebrate African American History Month, not only because there's so much in the past to celebrate, but most importantly because there's so much in the future to prepare ourselves for. I've got a whole sheet that has a paragraph. I get the privilege and honor of introducing the Central Touring Theater, and I've got a sheet there with a paragraph that says who the Central Touring Theater is, but guess what? I don't need it because I'm an alumni of the Central Touring Theater. And so when I was, and actually I'll even back up before I was in high school, when I was in junior high, I got to see all these young people, students, high school students from St. Paul Central High School every year doing a play, writing and producing and performing a play under the leadership of the incredible Jan Mandel. And every year in the basement of Central High School, a group of teenagers takes on an incredibly important topic, an incredibly deep topic. You know, the type of topic that we always lament the young people today aren't even thinking about. They take on and spend an entire year thinking and studying and bringing in speakers and talking to each other and end up coming forward with some like deeply profound statement on rape or on racism or on sexism or on drug abuse or on mental illness or on something. So I haven't even talked to them yet this year, but I know that that's what we're about to see. I don't know what the topic is, and I don't know what the name of the show is, but I know that we're about to be, we are truly about to be both entertained, but more importantly, they always inspire and challenge us to think a little bit deeper about whatever we may or may not have been thinking about in the past. So now I get the privilege of welcoming, who am I welcoming?
Denise, Peter, and Curtis.
Yes, Denise, Peter, and Curtis from the Central Touring Theater.
Hi, my name is Denise Christian.
I'm Peter Cowan.
And like Melvin has said, that we are from Central Touring Theater. And we have the pleasure of introducing a small excerpt from our play that we will be showing you all today.
All the scenes that you will be seeing have been written and discussed and analyzed and a whole bunch of other stuff by us, the students. And the people who have come forward with the idea will be introducing each scene before we do them.
So without anything else, we're going to turn over to Curtis that wrote our first scene. Go ahead, Curtis.
Hello, my name is Curtis Lee Gaines Jr. I wrote the piece called Choices. The reason I wrote the piece called Choices is because I'm tired of seeing young people dying on the streets. So they get involved to find a hustle to make money to survive out in the world. So I wrote this piece to give a voice to those people that join gangs to just get a way of, go through a way of life. So I wrote this piece. Hope you enjoy.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mr. Stevenson. Game over.
Today, you have the most important final of the entire year.
How many points is it worth?
1,000,000.
What? Summer school. How many pages is it?
1,000.
When's the deadline?
Now. 20 minutes to your study groups. Go.
20 minutes.
Some of you need these points more than others. TJ.
I go home. I open the door. I look at my mom. And she just mean mugging me. But I know she just scared that she might be the next one to get that phone call saying she gotta bury her baby boy. I look at my dad. And he just spaced. Cause he been here before. And he know where it ends. Try to go to my room. They stop me and sit me down. She begins to ask questions.
Where have you been? I could have sworn I told you to be here by 10 and it is after 12. Your school has been calling me, telling me that you were not going to class or whatnot. And who are these people you have coming to my house looking for you? You know what? I am getting so sick and tired of this. I work all day for you and your sister, and this is what you do? You know what, Trev? Just tell me what's going on.
I look at my mom. I look at my dad. And I look at the door.
I look at my mom. I look at my dad. And I look at the door.
And I just leave.
Trev! If you walk out that door, you walk out on this family.
Look, hold this. You like that, right?
Yeah, that's nice right there.
Feels powerful, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put it to my head.
What?
I said, put it to my head. Oh, so you must not have heard me, right? When I tell you to do something, you do it.
My name is Trevor. 16 years old, living in a confusing world. Senior year in high school. Can't believe I made it this far. I'm a man and I need to make my own decisions. Over the weeks, the streets has become my family. It showed me love for the streets. It gave me respect for the life we are forced to live. It gave me power to overcome the obstacles that try to hold me back. Initiation is near. I can feel the cold whispers of my fellow gang members on the back of my neck telling me it's the right thing to do.
Do it.
I need to make a choice. Because there is a consequence. Once you're in, there's only one way out. I need to make a choice. And the answer is no.
Trevor! 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 Why aren't you doing any work?
Look, it's gonna get done.
It doesn't appear like it.
Look, I got a lot on my mind. I'm just stressed out right now.
Stressed out!
Hello, beautiful people out there. My name is Destiny Roberts, and this is Ebony. The next one you're going to see is called Colors, which was inspired by a poem that I wrote having to do with colorism, which is kind of like separation by the tone of your skin. And
Colorism, like she said, is separation by the tone of your skin, and we as an ensemble see this in our society, whether it be public or private, whether it be in just a school or just your families. We see that, and we pulled experiences from our own life, and we hope that you see this in the future, and you can know what it is, and you can learn from it.
enjoy.
Recess!
Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
Hey, your skin. It kind of matches the color of the dirt. What? Your hand and the dirt, they're kind of the same color.
Ashley! Get in this house and do these dishes!
Yes, Mom, okay. I'll help.
Oh no, sweetie, you can stay out there and play. Your sister can do this.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Keep playing. Over the years, this became the usual in Ashley and Kelly's household.
Hi, Grandma.
Hey, baby.
Hey, Ash, what's up? Nothing.
Wanna watch TV? Your favorite show?
I don't care.
Ashley! Ashley! These clothes ain't gonna fold themselves!
Come in. You know what? I have to go. So I'm the only person that does work around here.
Whoa! What's that supposed to mean?
You don't do anything, and Mom never makes you do anything. Come on, don't act like you don't notice.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Mom had me take out the trash this morning, and I went grocery shopping last week.
Yeah, you went grocery shopping. Good for you. You know Mom would never let you get your pretty little hands dirty.
This is about my skin tone again.
Yes, it is about your skin tone because everything is about your skin tone.
Right, because I was born lighter than you, so Mom loves me more.
It's true. Mom does love you more. Okay, and you were born lighter than me. At least I know now that you're not completely oblivious to the fact that Mom treats you more special than me, that you're so privileged.
I'm not privileged! God, what makes you think that I'm so privileged all the time? Mom smothers me.
You know what? You will never get it.
What makes you think that I don't get it?
I just hate the way Mom treats me because of my skin.
Now, look at me when I'm talking to you. Come on. Now, I understand how you feel. I've been there too. Child, this has been going on since the beginning of time. Big and small, rich or poor, dark and light. But whose God is right? Through it all, you've got to remember that she is your mother and that she really does love you. And you got to find it in your heart to forgive her. Not just for her or for anybody else, but for you.
Love.
Love. Acceptance.
No matter what complexion.
It's color complex. Why is colorism so accepted? High yellows on a pedestal, while beautiful brown gets rejected. Light skin gets praised, while dark skin is rather less than.
Two sisters separated by coloristic favoritism. To a mother, how could your love for your children be so different? Because the color of their pigment defines the love that you give them. Slavery's today, you see, the darker you are, the worse.
The color of your skin can determine your worth.
Can't be oblivious to what's going on.
We need help,
because
history does tend to repeat itself.
There's one more scene coming up. They've been studying the disrupting the school to prison pipeline. And so hang out for that one right after the speaker. It'll be the last one, and then we'll close with a discussion. Love to have some conversation between you and the students. Thank you so much. Thank you, Melvin.
That's great. Thanks, Jan. We have a great speaker here today. You know, as we talk about disrupting the pipeline, as we talk about interrupting all of these kind of myriad disparities that impact our community and impact our society, I'm pleased to present and introduce, to present, most of you I think know her, somebody who has been passionately active in working on all of those issues for a really long time. Patricia Brady has been employed in Ramsey County for over 12 years as the Director of Workforce Solutions. She is the first African-American person to serve as a department director, as a department head for the Ramsey County government. And she has been, it's the administrative entity of the City and County Workforce Development Program, operating under the authority of the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners and in partnership with the City of St. Paul. Patricia Brady.
Don't know all of you. I do see some faces out there that I do know, but I really want to start by telling these young people that you're just absolutely amazing, and all of my mother's children were the same color. We didn't have any colorism in our house, so it's you know, it's really interesting to actually see that we're talking about those things now. So that's really good. So you know, for if the mayor's office is present, city council members are present, I'd like to say I thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you on this wonderful occasion of celebrating African American History Month. This is something that we must continue to do. It's our legacy, and when we stop celebrating it, we start forgetting where we came from. And there were wonderful men and women who stepped into a raging sea of pain to get us to where we are today. And so symbolically, I pour out a libation to those brothers and sisters for what they did to make a day like today possible for all of us. Today I'm going to talk about solidarity, and not from just a purely social point of view, but actually sort of a personal point of view. Samora Machel, who was the first president of Mozambique, describes solidarity this way. He says, it's an act of unity between allies fighting on different terrains towards the same object. I like that, don't you? You can be on different terrains, but you can stand together in solidarity and fight the same thing. So I show up in the world, and there is still room for me to be me and to support people who are different than I am, who have a different perspective, but whose rights may also be disenfranchised from them. Aurora Levins Morales, a Puerto Rican Jewish writer, says that solidarity comes from the inability to tolerate the affront to our own integrity of passive or active collaboration in the presence of others. Now, I'm going to repeat that again because I don't want you to miss one word of that, because this is about you, and it is about me, and it is about everybody else. Solidarity comes from the inability to tolerate the affront to our own integrity of passive or active collaboration in the oppression of others. And I just love that because it really speaks the truth. So solidarity demands that we all have an underlying sense that we are all equal, that we are all human. We may look different, we may have different colors and different backgrounds, but what we share is the most important thing of all. We share humanity. We share the ability to love one another. We've already got solidarity around a lot of things that we may not have thought about it in that way. For instance, can't you recognize the compassion that we all have around beached whales? If a whale is beached, we are rooting for the people to keep the whale wet until a tide comes in and brings it back out. We despise child abuse, elder abuse, and elder neglect. Those are things around which our society already has solidarity, and dare anybody to try to take that away from us. I first came to the notion of solidarity by observing its wrong-headed direction in maintaining the status quo. The conspiracy of people to unwittingly engage in that which prevents someone else from having the best that they can have. In my first year of college, I used to fly home every other Friday. It's because I was a mama's girl. It was hard for me to be there without her, and so they paid for me to fly every other Friday back home. I took the same flight, ate at the same diner, had the same meal, grilled cheese and a pop, and waited for my flight. On this particular occasion, however, I had cut my hair into an afro. I wasn't wearing it straight. I had cut my hair into an afro, which to me was a hairstyle. But to those in the diner, it signaled militancy, hatred of white people, rebellion, all of those things, none of which was what I stood for, but that is what they saw. And it occurred to me as I was running late that something was wrong, but I really just didn't know what it was. But then I looked around the room at the white faces that were staring at me. Waitresses leaning against the walls and wondering how long it was going to take this naive teenager to figure out that no lunch was coming to her today. The other patrons already knew it. I could tell by the looks on their faces. I can't describe for you the humiliation I felt. This was not Alabama. This was Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. This was Central State University. How could this happen in my state? And how could this happen to me? I've picketed, I've marched, I've done all those things, and I thought I understood what all of this felt like, but not till it hit me personally. I actually was devastated. The conspiracy around their own consolidation to prevent me from having access to something that they have was just personally devastating. And I was changed forever. It made a huge difference for me. I was never the same after that. I moved past bitterness. I am not bitter, but I now understand what disenfranchisement feels like to those who are disenfranchised and not allowed to have the same equality and the same share in the American dream that we all want for everyone. What I hope today, though, is that all of the people that were in that diner have come to an enlightened viewpoint. I am not angry at any of them. I think they were following the wave of solidarity that was the popular thing at that particular time. Now, I've done diversity work my whole career, and I never once asked for it. It always fell into my lap, and I embraced it. It may be the very reason that I am here on the earth. I don't even know that for sure. But I did embrace it, and I feel like I volunteer for that. I happen to be, as Melvin has said, the only African-American person who is a department head in Ramsey County, and so I am sometimes in the position where I have to say things and get things out on the table and put it out into the air for other people to hear that might never be said if I weren't in that room. Sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to be that person, but I am that person, and I have to raise my hand, and I have to volunteer, and I have to speak up. I have to speak up for all of you. I have to speak up, for gay rights, for white rights, for black rights. I have to speak up for those things. So the first group that I inherited in a company, I inherited them because I, again, was the only African-American manager in the company, and they asked me to take over the diversity program. There were some people in the company that felt like the company was not going in the right direction, and I was assigned to bring the group along. After several meetings, I received what they thought was their highest compliment. They said, "We like you, Patricia. We like working with you, and we don't even think of you as a black person." Well, I knew I had my work cut out for me. And that was going to be the first group that I started with. I did say, think of me as a black person. If you don't think of me as a black person, you're going to miss something. You're not going to hear something. You're not going to feel something. Let me be who I am. I'm going to let you be who you are. We are going to work together, and we are going to make a difference. So allow my worldview to be a lens that you can look through, and let me look through your worldview, look through the world through your lens. So now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you on a journey, a pilgrimage that I took. I'm going to invite you to come along with me on this journey, especially you young folks. I want you to come along on this journey. This was my first recognition of a good, positive solidarity in action, and it came to me when I was a child. I didn't even recognize it. There was no word in my vocabulary that covered it at that time, but I was part of a 25,000 to 30,000 person demonstration journeying to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. for the prayer pilgrimage for freedom. There was hours of singing spirituals, and there were prayers, and there were speeches. It was just like Sunday morning around my house. But this occasion was designed to coincide with the 3rd anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education. This was a landmark decision where the Supreme Court declared that it was unconstitutional to separate black children and white children for education purposes. You guys hear that? Because equal is not separate. It was not separate. It cannot be separate. I'm always going to look in and say, what are they hearing and seeing that I'm not hearing and seeing? And so the Supreme Court looked at that and said, that's going to be unconstitutional here. This march, however, was an attempt to persuade a complacent nation that it had not kept its promises to the black population regarding the 15th Amendment. After the Civil War, 3 amendments to the Constitution was passed. The 13th Amendment ended slavery, so those folks who were enslaved were allowed to go free. The 14th Amendment made African Americans citizens, and the 15th Amendment gave the right to vote to African American men. Now, this was a truly interesting trip for me being a child. I had a simple understanding of the issues. All that I understood really was that whites and blacks had different rights. I was a little girl. They had different rights. Blacks had fewer rights than whites had and were subject to abuse because the laws did not protect us. That's about as simple as you can get, and that's about all that I understood. At this time of the pilgrimage, the black church was a very powerful central figure in the life of the black community. My church certainly was. It seemed like we were there all the time. We had the expression that every time the church doors flew open, our family flew in. I see other people saying, yep. You know, we were there Sundays, Wednesdays, Fridays, you know, constantly there at the church. So the organizers of this particular, so that my church actually financed my my trip to go to Washington, D.C. The organizers invited all believers in the God-given concept of the brotherhood of man and in the American ideal of equality to assemble, to review the national scene, to give thanks for the progress to date, and to pray for wiping out of the evils that still beset our nation. I made this journey by rail. I didn't at that time know the history or the struggle of African American men and women who were workers on the railroad. How many of you know about those struggles of African American men and women? Okay, there are a few hands. Okay, school's open. I'm going to tell you about this because I did a little bit of studying on this myself. In 1867, a gentleman by the name of George Pullman, we're familiar with the Pullman cars, introduced his first hotel on wheels. He called it the President. It was a sleeper car, and it had an attached kitchen and dining car. The food rivaled the best restaurants any place. As a matter of fact, he had menus designed by the best chefs in the country. A year later, he opened the Delmonico rail car, and that one, the chefs that cooked for or that designed the menus there worked for the famous Delmonico restaurant in New York. Both of these offered first-rate service. George, I'm going to call him George. George hired almost exclusively African American freed men as porters. These were men who were domestics and were fresh out of slavery. They were domestics as slaves, and so they understood how to serve, how to ingratiate yourself. They knew how to do this. And this was George's way of tapping into a workforce that was not unionized. I don't like that. So there were also women. There were also women that freed slaved women who were there to service the needs of the women and the children, to help them with their personal needs. They were paid relatively well, $3 an hour. That does not sound like very much now, but by our standards, that's about $25 in today's money. And the position by black people was considered prestigious because these were people that got to ride around on trains and go all over the country. Never mind that $3, for those $3, George Pullman required that those who serviced his cars had to live in Pullman towns. They had towns where the people had to live. They had to do their grocery shopping there. They had to spend their dollars for groceries there. They had to pay for their own shoe shine kits. They had to buy those at the Pullman store. Their kids went to the Pullman schools. They went to the Pullman church on Sunday. And the joke among the porters was, when we die, we're going to Pullman hell. That's how they felt about this. There were also hours and hours of unpaid time because the cars had to be brought up in the morning and set up for the dining, which would happen all day long, and then broken down and put to bed at night. And if a railroad wanted to buy one of the Pullman cars, what came along with the car was the African freed people to serve. So you got the car and you got the African Americans who served all with the same in the same package. So to me, that felt too much like slavery. So how they got their real money? The real money was from tips. That was really how they made their money, because they knew how to work the system with white people and to serve them, and they used the tip money to actually do their living. Now these Pullman cars, let's see. Okay, my grandfather worked on the railroad. I have to tell, this is a slight aside. I never heard about any of the hardships on the railroad from him. ever. My family actually came north from Alabama, where my grandfather worked on the railroad, and he had to leave there and come north because he refused to allow himself to be abused by a white man. Now, I hear that there was some hitting involved, but I don't know for sure because he never actually said it, but I do know that he paid 2 men to go down south to get my grandmother and bring her on a train north to him. She was 15 years old at the time. So I digress. I'm going to get back to the journey that we're on. So here I am, a child, riding a train to Washington, D.C. to gather at the Lincoln Memorial for singing, prayer, and for moving the American people to keep the laws that they had already passed on behalf of the African Americans. On the way, though, several cooks came out of the kitchen, and they were just gorgeous. They were so beautifully adorned in their suits, and they asked permission to take me back into the kitchen to make a sandwich for me, and they were given that permission, so I accompanied them back. The kitchen was wonderful. It was shiny. They were gracious. I can still remember them pulling out pieces of bacon, and they put the bacon on the grill, and when the bacon was almost done, they plopped an egg on top of the bacon, and they took out 2 pieces of white bread. Pullman had specially made white bread. I got to eat some of that specially made white bread. They made that bread into toast, and they put grape jelly on it and handed it to me as if it was a precious gift, and I received it in the same way. I have never had a sandwich quite so good in my whole life. That was wonderful. Okay, forgive the brief aside. We're still on this pilgrimage. The next day, when the march began, people seemed to come from everywhere. To my utter amazement, I saw black people and white people marching arm in arm. I saw Jewish men with their kippahs on. I saw pastors in robes. I actually, quite honestly, did not understand what I was seeing. Why would white people be marching for the rights of blacks to vote? Remember, I'm talking about solidarity. They had the vote. They had the rights. They could eat anywhere they wanted to. They could drink from white-only water fountains. I really pondered that. And they were marching arm in arm, not just with each other, but with us. They were actually touching us, arm in arm, right along with us. As a little person, I could look up into the faces of these white people, and they looked kind. They strolled on with us, singing and talking to each other and talking with us. And though I had no name for it at the time, I was looking in the face of solidarity. Good solidarity, nation-building solidarity, person-changing solidarity. It was puzzling then, but now it is unequaled in any beauty that I know. Hadn't the organizers called for all believers in the God-given concept of the brotherhood of man and in the American ideal of equity to come to this march? Somehow I hadn't thought of white people as being in that number. As a child, I just hadn't seen that. What a surprise to me. It's amazing what children can conclude on their own without even being taught. If I can digress for just one more time, I have a godson. I've been in his life ever since he was born. And he's a white child. He's autistic. At about age 4, he said to his mother, "Black people are bad." This is a child that loves me. He said, "Black people are bad." And she says, "No, they're not bad." And he said, "Yeah, they're bad. Black people are bad." And she said, "Patricia is black." And he said, "No." He was vehement that I was not black. When he realized that she must have been telling the truth, he fell in the floor in tears, kicking and screaming. He was inconsolable to think that a person he loved was a black person. He would not be consoled until she called me on the phone and I said to him, "Ian, yes, I am black. Ian, it is okay to be black. It is good to be black. I am happy to be black. If I could go back and choose, I would choose to be black." I had to have that kind of conversation with a 4-year-old who had been watching too much television, had been probably overhearing people in the street say things that were improper. Well, back to the march. White people, black people together for one purpose, souls still waited, struggling, hoping for the day when we would all come together in solidarity to bring the freedom, dignity, and respect to all fellow human beings. Now, this was the first notice of Martin Luther King. He gave a speech there called "Give Us the Ballot." It's not as famous as the "I Have a Dream" speech, but it's very poignant, and I'd like to read a few lines of that from you. He cried, Martin Luther King cried over the loudspeaker as only he can. You know, he's got that sing-song voice, and he sounds like he's preaching all the time. And so hear that when I read these words, because I can't talk that way. But he said, "Give us the ballot, and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights. Give us the ballot, and we will no longer plead to the federal government for passage of an anti-lynching law. Give us the ballot, and we will fill our legislative halls with men of goodwill. Give us the ballot, and we will place judges on the benches in the South who will do justly and love mercy. Give us the ballot, and we will quietly and nonviolently and without rancor or bitterness implement the Supreme Court decision of May 17, 1954. This march for solidarity was a march for solidarity and a call out for good men and good women of faith of every color to come together, and it eventually led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The organizers gained experience during this march and laid the foundation for future marches in the civil rights movement. Now, I leave you with this, and I really am leaving. I see that I'm getting the high sign back there. This from Marion Wright Edelman, who is an African-American activist for children's rights. She says, "You just need to be a flea against injustice. Enough committed fleas biting even the biggest dog will make that dog uncomfortable and could even transform a nation." Thank you.
What?
This is based and inspired by personal family experiences, including my brother, who was targeted for being a young black male who struggled in school and who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. So,
we went to a workshop with Jenna Washington featuring Dr. Arsika Tyner, and we also read The New Jim Crow.
We were familiar with the statistics, but we also noticed that there was a solution, but lack of awareness and political will. So this scene is to raise awareness and start conversations to help fix what has been started. Thank you.
So we're going to start this with a 3, 2, 1 action to get the energy up in the room here. So you're going to say 3, 2, 1 action, and I'll hit the music, and then we'll go from there as our last scene today. Let me get over by my sound system. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action.
Excuse me, where's your pass?
That's right here.
Go to the office.
What?
Did you just see that?
Yeah, I think we both just saw what you said.
Yeah, you seen us doing nothing the whole time, and she decided to take him.
But it's because he's a black guy.
Don't you ever wonder how that feels?
I know how it feels. Just watch.
In the hallway.
I'm in the hallway. Nobody ever stops me.
In the hallway.
I did all the time. I just sit outside a teacher's class. Nobody asks any questions.
In the hallway.
And I never get caught in the hall.
Why? In the hallway.
They'd ask me for a pass.
And if I didn't have one,
they'd send me to the office.
That's messed up.
In the hallway.
Why go to class when you really don't care?
In the hallway.
Nobody ever stops me ever.
In the hallway.
I need to go to class. Because you shouldn't even be
In the hallway.
I'm never really late. The bell's just kind of always late.
In the hallway.
I just pretend to have a pass.
I write one.
What's a pass?
In the hallway.
Stop complaining. All I ever hear is 4 words. Go to the
Office.
Go to the office now.
Go to the office, go to the office, go to the office now.
Go to the office, go to the office, go to the office now.
All right, we're back in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to Channel 9 News. Tonight's special, School to Prison Pipeline. How much you really know. 1 in 3 African American males are under the control of the criminal justice system. And not only that, but it costs $350 per day to incarcerate one youth.
That's right, Jill. That cost exceeds the cost of a quality education by 3.7 times.
I know they didn't just say 3.7 times.
3.7 times.
So you're telling me our money is going towards building jail cells instead of keeping my cousin out of them?
That's right.
Enough! I'm tired of hearing about this. This has been going on for about, what, decades now? You know what? Enough with the facts and the stats. Get to the point. What are we doing about it?
Nothing.
Ooh, child, listen to the lesson. Ooh, man, give me your attention. Priceless education has a value tag. A value tag. Price of incarceration, like money in a bag. Money in a bag. Child, listen to the lesson. Ooh, man, give me your attention.
Inmates of cell block 3.
I am not a statistic.
I am not an achievement gap.
And I'm not trouble.
Education
Is the civil rights issue of our generation.
Hey!
What?
Admit it. The undeniable truth is...
The undeniable truth is
that every day the education experience for many students of color
violates the principle of equity in the American promise.
What? Man, call it what it is. The achievement gap is systematic racism.
You know, that's what I heard.
You all are suspended.
Suspended? Stop with the suspension. It's time for intervention.
Overly harsh disciplinary acts, such as suspension, expulsion, and referral to law enforcement, lead to lower academic achievement and higher dropout rates.
Then we need a solution.
Yes, we need a solution to systematic racism. Also, being a young person, we need to be able to speak about it and advocate for what we believe in. We believe that shipping African American males to prison is the wrong product line. We also feel that systematic racism creates the imaginary bars we are forced to live in.
In this world, systematic racism is an imaginary program chip put into our minds so we think
and feel.
We have no other choice
but to fail
in the society.
We need a new product line. That would mean take off their labels and put on our own classification of ourselves.
I'm a student who is willing to succeed.
I am a high school grad who is told who's going to fail.
And I'm the first African American doctor in my family.
And I'm the first person in my family who has not gone to jail.
I know I can go through the hallways without ever being stopped. It's time you start treating me fairly, not privileged.
Without the presence of a mother or teachings of a father, I grew to be a man of my own spoken reasons.
This
is my pipeline to something better.
Thank you very much. That is Central Twin Theater.
How incredibly insightful each of the scenes was to get to the real issue. And there's nothing can do that like, I think, live theater or poetry where you just nail it. That was one of my emotions in watching you, and a fabulous job. My question is, as young folks, what gives you hope? So you're acting out these scenes of terrible injustice, problems in our society. What gives you hope?
When you really take a look at everything that we've just presented and all of the negativity associated with that,
the everyday interactions with people who don't fit those stereotypes, that's what gives me hope.
Something that gives me hope and keeps me doing this work is growing up, my mom always told me that I was going to be the change. My generation is the change for her and people who, you know, are around in her generation. And that gives me hope, knowing that I can be the change. And by me being the change, the people that comes after me will also continue to change.
One thing that gives me hope is seeing people like us that see the issue and want to fix the issue and address the issue. And it gives me hope that we are making that step forward to fix it and change it.
It just realizing how few people are actually stupid. If you just actually have a conversation with someone and talk about an issue that they feel that you differ on them with, and if you're actually getting a dialogue going, they're not really a dumb person.
Hi, I'm Kevin Casper, and I'm with the police department, and I want to say it was really fantastic. The question I had is, how do you find the courage to get up there? Because my heart's pounding right now just answering a question, or having a question. And then the other one was, I think that the message was incredibly enlightening, and I would encourage you just to continue to share it with everybody.
How do I get the courage is me delivering a message, but because before this, I couldn't get in front of anybody and speak because I had a horrible fear of stage fright and messing up. But one thing that I do is think about how much positive reflections I'm going to give to somebody, how much a message I'm going to give to somebody, how I'm going to deliver it. So that's what gives me the courage to speak up.
What gives me courage is, I used to be really shy, but I'm not anymore, as everybody knows. But it was more of, if I believed in something, I knew somebody else believed in it too, and it wasn't just me. So trying to find people who do, it's really fun to get to know those people. So that's what
I think a lot of what it is we practice every single day, and we just get it down. Plus, for some of us, this is our passion. Like, we love to reform. A lot of us do. I certainly love to reform, and just the rehearsal, man. Like, when you get those positive feedback from what we're doing right now and hear people be like, you're amazing, that just next time I'm gonna be like, those person thought I was amazing. I'm gonna be fine. So,
something that just really gives me courage is, I used to be really, really shy, and being a writer, I mean, you can't be shy if you want to put that out there. I mean, writing was my baby, and like being here, I've definitely put out more writing than I've ever put out in my entire life. And everybody around here has supported that, and I really appreciate that from you guys.
Well, I can speak up, I think, on behalf of a lot of people in the room and say, you guys give us hope, right?